What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from Pink Tourmaline. And once again, we are getting into the book Exit the Cave by Howdie Mickoski. This is part 2 of 3. There will be a third installment. Just made it through another chunk of the book. And then the last chunk, I'll include slides and key excerpts of things that I found to be ultra important that I wanted to share. So I've gone through a collection or a number of pages, and I've taken a collection of excerpts that I wanted to share that I think highlight important points throughout around this entire journey of the reincarnation trap, the soul trap, as it's called, or the soul trick, as Tony Sayers calls it. And just a quick caveat: some of this stuff is a little intense, and like I said many times, it might not always be the information that we want, but we're going to face it, and we're going to think about it, and we're going to learn about it, and we don't know what the still truth is. We're still trying to figure it out, but hopefully we can just approach everything with an open mind. That phrase that William Bullman said in one of his speeches, one of his talks, is going to resonate with me forever. Everything we learn in this life is going to be somewhat flawed. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind for two reasons. One, our senses are not perfect. Our sensory organs are not perfect. And two, there's a whole lot of deception going on in this realm and maybe even beyond. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt. But that being said, without further ado, let's get into this awesome, awesome book and more nuggets of wisdom and knowledge that can be gleaned. All right. Once again, I'm going to go over the quick biography of Howdie Mickoski before we jump into the book. And this is the author of Exit the Cave. So his book argues that earthly life may be a deceptive cave designed to keep souls trapped in reincarnation. Drawing from ancient texts, Gnostic ideas, NDEs, and modern simulation-style stories, Mickoski questions whether karma, guides, life reviews, and the light are truly benevolent or part of a system that recycles consciousness. His main message is, we should say, wipes and recycles consciousness, erases and recycles consciousness. His main message is about recognizing the trap, reclaiming sovereignty, and refusing to be sent back into the cycle. All right, let's get into the mix. By the way, there's some stuff in here about NDEs, which is pretty fascinating, especially because when I was learning about NDEs, I pretty much exclusively watched only the positive ones. Occasionally, I would hear about these negative ones being mentioned, and I kind of didn't want to believe it that there were these negative experiences. And then I also wrote it off as maybe people were just projecting their own fears into these experiences. And that's maybe why they felt isolated or cut off or whatever it may be. So this is a fascinating thing for me. Actually, still to this day, I haven't really gone and researched these negative NDE accounts. So when I read this portion of the book, yeah, kind of hit me, and I thought it was worthwhile to share one negative NDE in particular. Okay, now this part of the book is very interesting because I hadn't heard this before. So we hear about the life review all the time, and you have to go on the life review or reject the life review. Life reviews, of course, where they go through all these instances in your life where you either hurt somebody or help somebody. You feel the negative emotions when you hurt somebody that they experienced. You feel the positive emotions when you help people that they experience as well. So it's not all bad, but the point is that, at least Howdie Mickoski and many others make, is that it's manipulative in nature and that it's meant to evoke certain emotions and make you feel certain ways to then later be used against you to convince you to come back into a new body and reincarnate once again. So fine. The advice is that we just don't accept it, or we rise above it and just say no, or say, hey, this is not doing anything to me. But Howdie Mickoski actually gives us a blueprint for how to strengthen ourselves for the moment of the life review so it doesn't have the intended effect on us. Because we could say all day long, it's not going to have an effect on us. But then you get faced with all these things that you may have done in your life that you regret, or things that you maybe on the flip side that you feel really happy about for whatever it may be. When being confronted with it for the first time, it may affect you so deeply that it just takes you by surprise and then suddenly opens you up to manipulation. Even when you thought, nah, I'm rock solid, nothing's going to penetrate me. So Howdie Mickoski literally creates a protocol to strengthen yourself, to make it so that you are impenetrable, even if you're subjected to this life review. It's called Recapitulation. So it's split this up into 3 different slides. Very, very interesting. So it says, however, the main focus of a recapitulation is to prepare us for the after-death life review so that nothing in it will surprise us. I've long recommended that people do a life review. Now, he's not talking about the afterlife review. He's talking about one right now while we're alive. One's entire life. And as mentioned in previous chapters, that is so there's not one hidden area of our lives that we can be surprised by in the after-death review. The problem is that such a full review takes years. My first took approximately 4 years to complete. I'm not sure people have that sort of time now, given our current bizarre world situation. Anyone who has not started a full life review may not get to complete one, given what challenges seem to be on the horizon for this reality. One question as I'm reading through this recapitulation idea is I just wonder if you read this somewhere, if you heard this, if it's been also studied by other individuals or philosophers and also posited as a means by which to get through the life review, or if this is just something from his own imagination or thought process. Just curious about that. This list should include everyone you have ever met. He's saying not a server at McDonald's or something like that, but it should be comprehensive to help you find an old find old address books, high school yearbooks, and photographs. Anything to jog your memory with whom you interacted at various times in your life. Where have you vacationed? Where did you work? Where did you eat dinners? Once you have a detailed list of names, it should be written backwards in time with the most recent person you met first at the top of the list and your parents last. Now take that list and write 1 to 3 events that took place with that person. I mean, imagine doing this. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I haven't started anything like this. And just imagine the amount of time and emotional resources this would require and intellectual capacity, just remembering everything. It'd just be a gargantuan task. And like you said, it took 4 years. Wild. Some will be people you only met once, while others will have thousands of events potentially from which to choose. When the list and events are in place, read over the list slowly, name to name, event to event. Take your time. Lots of memories will begin to appear. Just sit with them. Go to those you are drawn to. When you come to names of those you have had sexual encounters with, take a bit of time to breathe, to harmonize energy, as a sexual encounter can create much misplaced and lost energy when the activity was not partaken with a clear awareness. You are not doing this like a complete recap. You are just reading it over, having brief flashes as you go through, and see what else comes that you forgot. This practice will give you a start in preparing to release all guilt, shame, or need for revenge from your past. You must be clear and calm during the after-death life review. Wow. And it just sounds like an expulsion of negative energy. Even regardless of the idea of using this as a tool to get around the life review or not be impervious to the life review, this just sounds like a clearing of your essence, for lack of a better word, in a positive way, of course. Like just confronting everything. I mean, it sounds like it could be very arduous, very uncomfortable at times, but something like this could be amazing. I guess it's kind of what you do in therapy, but just not in this type of detail, of course, right? Your therapy, it's more targeted to, like, you're thinking about the things that are potentially bothering you right off the bat. And maybe you're talking about those things. Your therapist might help you run through past life events, but something this thorough, man, it's like you would miss nothing. So anyways, fascinating for both of those reasons, what it could do for you for the life review, but just also what it could do for you as an individual still in this life. Okay, this was kind of a cool one, and I wanted to bring out this excerpt because this channel began as decoding the purpose of life, understanding the meaning of life. That's how all of this, actually, even before I began the channel, that was what I was doing when I was researching NDEs, trying to understand and answer this question. So here it is. And oh, by the way, let me explain what this section of the book is from. This is from a section of the book from a gentleman named, Carl Henrik Jensen. Now, I had a little bit of difficulty understanding exactly what was going on in this section, and I think it is a sort of like an allegory of this fictitious individual, I think, and he meets this woman who's sort of like a muse, and they have this like long discussion about the nature of reality, all these different things. And so anyways, there's a lot of stuff. I'm assuming this is all just written and created by Howdie Mickoski, but there's a lot of stuff in this section. And when it's italicized like this is the muse or the woman talking. But there's just some really cool nuggets that just corroborate that. Not corroborate is not the right word. There's just some interesting nuggets that basically talk about this world, the simulation, whatever it may be, and explain the nature of it, the why behind it, the how behind it. And so, anyways, I've taken some of these excerpts and wanted to read them for you guys. They're just very interesting. Okay. So what this entity right here is responding to the individual who this is about. What's his name again? Oh my God, Jensen, right? Yeah, Carl Henrik Jensen. So she's running. He said, "Wait a minute, even plasma? You even know about plasma?" And she says, "Yes, even plasma." I know Rickard has been speaking to you about the demiurge and the archons. As such, we need to think clearly about our reality. It is all about the harvest of energy, Carl. Loosh. That is the answer to the age-old question. What is the meaning of life? That we and all other creatures here have been made in such a way that our energy can be harvested directly by the system. Harsh facts to come to, but if you honestly look at the suffering of this world, the way it never gets better, the insanity of it all, the way nature behaves, an energy farm is about the only logical, honest answer. It's kind of true. All the other ways we try to explain it away just seem to fall short. Yeah. Sad but true. The challenge those in the challenge the challenge those in control of this entire realm have had is to find the best energy harvest system. The way the world is now is not the first version of this place. We have gone through several. What's a good word? Revisions, stripping down the simulation and in some way starting all over. Okay. Well, there it is. Now, this is a very, very interesting portion as well. This idea that things used to be good, life used to be good. We're probably saying it now in my generation. Man, remember before cell phones, we'd actually have conversations with people. We'd actually look people in the face, which is true. When we walk down the street, we used to know people's phone numbers. We wouldn't be on devices all the time. We used to go outside and play. And I think our parents said the same thing about their generation. Oh, man, we didn't have TV. Like, you know what I mean? It's always just, yeah, things are really bad now, but they used to be good. And they talk about this, and they talk about this as being actually part of the trap. It's actually really interesting. One part of the mess has been to convince people that there was once a time when everything was wonderful and it could be that way again. But this is a simulated computer world created from an AI demiurge's design. It never gets better. The experiment runs as the experiment has designed, yet people keep waiting. Make no mistake, there are millions out there today waiting for, not millions, well, hundreds of millions, waiting for Jesus, a new political figure, fifth dimension ascension, something we've talked about, right? Or whatever to save them. And when the saving doesn't come, it's always because it's just around the corner, the next solstice, the next election, whatever. Truth. That's all I can say. Truth. Oops, we got a little typo there. It's supposed to say human, not human. My bad. But no, humans have more power than we can imagine. I thought this was a cool excerpt. Kind of reminds me of some of the stuff that was talked about in Alien Interview. This realm is a deception of hope. We have been placed in a virtual reality simulation, one designed to keep everyone enslaved so that our energy can be mined by the beings who created this place. Then on top of that, one of the very things that could help us get a grasp on this insane prison world, our perception, is constantly being hijacked and manipulated. So no one is ever seeing reality clearly. Given everything we have been told about this world is on some level a lie, the only real way forward is to throw all we have been told in the garbage and start fresh. Right from what is a human being and where do human beings come from to what is the point of being one. Humans have more power than we can even imagine, just not the type of power our self-important minds hope to achieve. Yeah, that's an uplifting thing that I've heard many times now, that, hey, all the deception is because we are just that powerful, not even as humans, but as in our souls, our spirits, our essences. And we're just kind of tricked into believing that we're not powerful. You know, that's an uplifting message. Another crazy idea I had, guys, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. You know, we hear the idea of so many people talk about 0 point energy and tapping into 0 point energy as the answer to so many of our energy needs, and it being this theoretical source of energy, this idea that we can power cities with like this tiny bit of, you know, all the energy in this tiny bit of space, that that the universe is bubbling with this energy. Where is that energy? What is that energy? And then I started thinking, what if that energy is Loosh? What if it's us? What if it's the energy that we're outputting that's being harvested and extracted, but there's just so much of it And when we're tapping into the 0 point energy, we're actually tapping into our own energy, our own emotions. Like just a thought, just an idea that I had. Tell me what you think in the comments about that. I've never heard anybody say that. I've never heard anybody talk about that. I can't vouch for that idea by any means, but it crossed my mind and I thought maybe. I mean, if this Loosh energy that is being harvested is so valuable and is being used to power the simulation, it seems so incredibly, yeah, it just can have all these capabilities and functions. And then we tap into this field and we don't know what it is, and we just seem to have limitless power from it. Maybe that's what we're tapping into. It's possible. We are not evil. It's the world. This is an important section here. And this is the first, I had this idea when I first discovered Gnosticism. I said, oh my God, maybe this could explain so much about humans, about the negativity in the world. It's just that this is how the system was designed. And I think even more so, I don't know if there's a place where we eventually have to draw a line and what that line is in terms of what that threshold is of people making really bad decisions just to hurt people for the sake of hurting people when they know they shouldn't be doing that, or when they have this or should have a level of empathy. But people can certainly be evil, let's say. I don't know if that would identify them forever and ever in every case, right? We have redemption arcs. We have people that can turn it around. But regardless, I think they make a good point here to bear in mind that the way this whole system is set up and built likely leads many people into behaving in these negative and nasty ways. And yeah, that's kind of the sentiment behind this little paragraph. We are not evil, it's the world. Just don't think you are evil because you're in a body. Some Cathars got caught in that one. Just because the entire world is evil in its design does not mean that you are evil because you are in it. We are in it against our wills, having been tricked into entering. As such, we almost have an obligation to be in the world, all the while knowing our ultimate goal is to overturn our deceptions and contracts and not to come back. This is a contracted reality on so many levels. What you see around you within this place is all contracts, laws. Think how many times you have signed pieces of paper in your life. There are similar ones we sign symbolically, again, via deception that gets us in here and sets up all sorts of pain and control on us. That does not mean we have to hate the world or blow it up, but no, it is not real. It is a simulation, not home, and we enjoy it as we can. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It's just my mind is going as I'm reading this. By the way, now we get to the negative NDEs. I do want to mention there's an entire section in the book that I do think is pretty interesting. I just didn't think for the things that I want to talk about, it was worthwhile to include it. But Howdie goes on this whole section of talking about movies and Hollywood and TV shows, even like Westworld, The Matrix. What was it? Dark Side? I don't know. He talks about a bunch of movies. Some of them I haven't seen them, but I can't remember all the names. But he talks about how these kind of present ideas of what's really going on, saying that they're not presented though for our benefit. They're just presented actually to keep us still buried deeper within the entire matrix and the simulation. But regardless, just saying that if you want to check it out, just buy the book and check out those sections for yourself. But now let's get into the negative NDEs. I've told you guys, NDEs is what got me on this journey from the beginning. This is where it's first started opening up my mind to the possibility of all this amazing information about what is the purpose of life, but nobody's really looking into it. Blown away. I'm like, oh my God, why are people going back to these books from 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago and saying that one thing that's written down tells the whole story? And it's like, well, what if these people are telling the whole story and multiple of them, and they're having converging accounts? Like, hello, let's take a look at this. And that's where I began. I did think at the beginning that you of course think that maybe some of these could be fabricated or something. I guess that's you always have to be skeptical. But then with all the overlaps and the similarities and the life review, and I'm like, how many people are having life reviews? That's insane. That must be a real thing. So then you start to think, okay, there's got to be some legs to this. But I never at any moment when I was first researching NDEs that I think these are manipulations. That came just a few months ago from David Icke. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of the beginning of this whole journey and this whole expedition. But I never, even till I read this, had I ever even bothered to explore the negative NDEs that tell a different side of the story, and that basically corroborates with this idea of the soul trap to some extent. So here's one of the negative NDEs. Just brace yourself. It's pretty dark, but this is what was included in Howdie Mickoski's book. And this is Ruth, I guess. I was taken out of body through the tunnel, but this time I was able to visit other planes of existence. And I've heard other NDEs say they were able to visit other planes or other planets or things like that. There were 7 I was allowed to view, including one very strange plane where I could look inside a giant morass where souls were being tortured sexually, etc. What the hell? In all types of vile forms. They thought they were trapped when all they had to do was look up and there was a path to the light. Not seeking seemed to be their doom. I screamed at them, but it seems they could not hear. I was taken to special entities who looked like the usual grays. That's weird. But they had lots of wrinkles on their faces. They called themselves the Council and said they were part of a group called Soul Recyclers, helping souls to reincarnate. That's crazy. I want to see this actual NDE. I think it's just written. I don't know if there's a video of it, but oh my God. Like, obviously, it kind of makes your stomach turn when you read it, but it's out there. We need to read it. We should know about it. And again, at this point, we're so far down the rabbit hole. It's not that much of a shock. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, that's all I have for these excerpts here. There's more NDEs, little excerpts and things like that, but I haven't gone through everything just yet. But I'll probably be making one more video on this book, Exit the Cave. I'm going to probably try and finish this book in the next day or two. I'll make one final video, and that's that. But guys, let me know. Shout out to Mihaela. I think she's the one, by the way, that recommended this book. But what do you guys think so far of the information contained herein? What do you think about that allegory? You know, all that italicized stuff that I read. Pretty interesting as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I'll say it. I said it before. I'll say it again. I reached out to Howdie Mickoski. We'll see if he can come on the channel. I'd love to interview him and talk to him and ask him a million questions about all the mysteries of life. See if we can get more to the bottom of everything. I'm exhausted, guys. That's all I got for you guys today. I got to hit the hay. But thank you guys so much for joining. And thank you, everybody, for all of this support that you've been giving me. We just passed 2,000 subscribers. Holy smokes. And people are being so amazing in the comments and with the engagement. So I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you guys so much for joining. And we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.